everyone to Game 4 Warbanner. Game 4 sees us playing another unique scenario, different to the usual rulebook, called Kill or Be Killed. Basically, it's very similar to the old 8th edition scenario where you're trying to break the other person's fortitude. Once again though, I don't have much in the way of scoring units, so my fortitude for this game is rather low, so we'll see how that plays out. So once again, speaking of scoring units, here's my army list. Been over it a few times, but probably the biggest noticeable factor is the lack of shooting and only one scoring unit. I've done a whole video on this if you want to kind of look at the list in more depth. Which brings us on to our opponent for this game. Game 4, fourth game for the day, sees me playing James, fellow Team New Zealand ETC player and co-captain, currently smashing the face of everybody he meets. I think he was pretty much capped on points or very close to it, sitting around 15,000 points after 3 games, and I'm on a lowly 8,000 and change, so basically I'm in 3rd place and he is significantly ahead of me, and he's just finished giving the guy in 2nd place a sound thrashing, so he's feeling pretty confident. We've not played an awful amount in the past, but the games that we have had have been fairly mixed. We've had a draw, I've had one good win on UB, and I think he's given me a couple of sound thrashings as well. So yeah, he's confident, and looking at my list and looking at his list, yeah, it'll be an interesting game. I never really fancy my chances against Warriors of the Dark Gods. So having a look at his list, he's got 3 nasty characters there that all worry me. He's got some Chosen, the Wasteland Knights, and the Hell Riders, which I've never come up against before. They're potentially a little bit of a problem as well, and the thing I'm probably most worried about, I guess, along with the characters, is the way he can use Break the Spirit twice. The cheap bound spell version on the Battle Shrine is problematic, so we'll see how this pans out. Wasn't going into this game very confident. James was extremely confident. Tournament organizer kind of had a word in my ear and said, you need to give him a sound thrashing or there's almost no point people turning up day 2. So mission on, and cue the Mission Impossible music. It should be a good game. Look forward to this. I don't play James nearly as often as I would like to, so been looking forward to this one, and hope you enjoy it. So firstly, having a look at magic spells for James, he rolls up Swarm of Insects, Chilling Howl, and Break the Spirit. I kind of chuckled that he had Chilling Howl, as well I don't have much shooting for him to protect himself from, but anyway, he's fairly happy. He's got 2 good magic missiles now and double Break the Spirit, so enough magic to cause me some issues. And I think missing from there is he also had the +1 strength and toughness spell. And in return for my spells, we've got Know Thy Enemy, Stars Align, Look to the West, and you can't see it in the picture, but I've also got that good old trusty Unerring Strike. Decided Know Thy Enemy was probably going to be more useful than scrying in this game. Look to the West, I figured there was a good chance I was going to be on the losing side of some combats and I would need that stubborn roll, maybe from a Lord or possibly even the Spearman block. And Stars Align, just useful to be able to scare anything that's got a ward save, and re-rolling to hit on those really critical fights, maybe Lord on Lord, something like that. So pretty happy with my spells that I've got available for this match too. So moving on to deployment, pretty sure James won the role to to pick sides, and I asked him to drop first, and we were both pretty cagey with our deployment. Normally somebody is pretty quick to put everything down and take first turn. Both of us really wanted to be able to see where the other one was going. A little bit of niggle going on and kind of egging each other on as we deployed. And I think I ended up finishing first with maybe only like a +1 on my roll or something. It was pretty close, I think. So anyway, we finished up a lot more bunched up than I would have liked. Once again, we've got the Kestrels on the left-hand side, followed by the Tree Father and the Spearman block, which are quite central on the board. Then next to that is our 2 Dryad units with forests. Really hoping I can entice a character to come and fight me in the forest, where I'll be stubborn and just sit there and challenge him out for a few turns. Got a Tree Father in there as well in case need be. And then Kestrels and Briar Maidens on that right hand flank. So a bit more compact than I would have liked, but overall fairly happy with how we've deployed there and how the map's set up. And in return, James has deployed the cavalry with the whips that make you stupid. Can't remember what they're called, but he's got those there on the far right hand flank. A little bit across from them his unit of knights, and then he's got his chosen and his monstrous cavalry in the center there. Then his unit of barbarians in behind the pond, and then he's got his shrine, some more infantry, and lastly his barbarian horsemen right over on the left hand side. So he's spread pretty much from one edge to the other, going to make it very difficult to get in around him. And you're already feeling rather intimidated. James is the sort of player that's very confident and likes to try and make the other person feel like they're already outplayed before things even get too far, and certainly that was working on me at this point in the game. So moving on to Vanguard, with James finishing deployment first. He took first Vanguard and moved his Hellstriders, I think they're called, backwards into the corner. So we advanced our Kestrels on that same side forwards, and then on the left hand side we also moved our Kestrels forward, hoping that we're going to get an opportunity, same kind of game plan, start surrounding them, look for opportunities for flank charges or to get in behind them. So again, after Vanguard, pretty happy how things look, and we start off turn 1. So I win the roll off and I managed to get first turn. So turn 1, we continue to move the Kestrels up a little bit cautiously on the left hand side, a little bit wary of getting too close and getting charged. The Tree Father comes up on top of the hill. Pretty happy with where he's at the moment. He's got a great arc covering a big chunk of the board, so pretty happy with him where he's at. The Spearmen also move up, but not quite as far, just being a little bit cautious with them. Still haven't learnt my lesson from earlier games, I guess, but they are just touching the hill so that they have got a reasonable line of sight there as well. In the center there, we're kind of crowding the woods. We just make room for our Tree Father to get through between the 2 Dryad units, trying to entice James to come forward. Really want to play the game as close to these forests as I can, so I can get every advantage that I'm able to get. And on the far right hand side, the Briar Maidens and the Kestrels don't really do an awful lot there. Can't really push forward too aggressively, or I'll be in charge range, or that impassable there in front of me is going to get in the way and let him safely advance past me. So trying to cover both bases at the moment. We're able to get past him if he pushes up, and we're also able to charge him if he pushes up. So yeah, hopefully that's going to pan out the way that I'm intending. So moving on to magic, and we roll up a 4-2 magic phase and we channel. So a 5-2 magic phase. Awfully excited about this, and then we fail to cast our first spell, and James is able to dispel the second one, and we get nothing off. That was pretty disappointing. I thought that was going to be a fantastic start to the game for me, but anyway, such is life. So that brings us on to Warriors of the Dark Gods turn 1. Yeah, unfortunately, we've inflicted no casualties at all so far. So he starts showing off his confidence and pushing forward. The Hellstriders, I should really look up what they're called, but whatever they are with the whips there, they move up on top of the hill just so that they're able to see me. His nasty character moves up there, hiding in behind the impassable so that I can't charge him. He's kind of playing the same idea as me there, where he's trying to block me from being able to advance but be safe at the same time. The knights also come forward there. They are letting me get the kestrels past them, but are covering a pretty decent arc there as well, and are pretty threatening to most of my units. Across into the centre more, he just pushes forward with his infantry and his monstrous cav there. The barbarian unit just continues to hide back behind the pond. The other infantry unit and the shrine pretty much stay still, as do the barbarian cavalry in the corner. So he's kind of pushed up in the center and on the right, and holding back on the left. So moving on to magic, and James rolls up a pink one's his channel dice. I want to say he had maybe a 7-4 or 7-5 magic phase. Regardless, he manages to firstly break the spirit off on the kestrels on the left hand flank, and then he also gets a break the spirit off on the spearman unit in the center. So otherwise effectively doesn't really do much at all, and we move on to Sylvan Elves turn 2. So turn 2 we start trying to be a little bit more aggressive, trying to learn some lessons from games 1, 2 and 3, and also aware that really nothing less than 4,000 points is going to do out of this game. So our tree father moves forward aggressively, hunting after the shrine there. The kestrels on the left don't move very far forward, as they don't want to bother taking dangerous terrain. The spearmen though do reform and move up onto the hill, while the tree father, who was off to the right a little more, moves to the left, just to make sure that it's a longer charge for that lord hiding behind the impassable. To make room for him, the dryad skirmishers just drop back a little bit. The other dryad unit drops back a little bit too in the forest. We are, I think, just in charge range, but pretty confident he's not going to go for that. We drop back the kestrels and the briar maidens. Basically, if he does come forward, he better win that combat, or else my briar maidens are going to come in on his flank and it could get exciting. So yeah, being a little bit cautious on the right hand side now, and we're starting to almost maneuver into the diagonal deployment type scenario, where I'm dropping back now on the right and pushing forward on the left. So moving on to magic, and we roll up another good looking magic phase with a 9-5 roll, and we channel as well to make it 10-5. Pretty sure James failed to channel, so we look to push through a few useful spells here. Firstly, Oaken Throne, which he really didn't want to let go, but felt he had to, as he didn't want me hitting him with magic missiles. And then after that, we go and put Stars Align on our Spearman unit, just in case he wants to charge in with his monstrous cavalry there. I feel Lethal Strike with rerolls to hit could be rather useful there, so almost taunting him to come and charge me there again. Although I don't really have a good hammer set up ready to hit them on the flank, so not necessarily the best laid trap there. And that was all I was able to get off. So that brings us on to turn 2 for the Warriors of the Dark Gods, and James starts to now get in the aggressive mode that he's known for and come and get me. So on the left hand side, the Barbarian Horsemen move well forward. Didn't really angle my kestrels perhaps as carefully as I should have, and he's able to get in behind me. The Tree Father that I push forward takes a double charge there from the Wasteland Warriors, I think they are, and his Shrine. So it'll be interesting how that fight goes. In the center, he remaneuvers quite a bit. The monstrous cav just moved forward slightly. I can't remember if it was a failed charge or not, but nevertheless they don't move very far. The Lord comes across from behind the impassable, well across into the center, where he can threaten most of my army. So that could be a bit of an issue. The Chosen in behind him, and the Knights also move up as well, so starting to feel a bit of pressure there in the middle of the board. And on the far right hand side, the Hellstriders move forward now a bit more confidently as well. So moving on to Magic, and James rolls up an 11-6 Magic phase, a pretty impressive roll there. I do manage to channel though to at least make it 11-7. But from memory, he's not really able to achieve much. He gets Break the Spirit off on the Tree Father, and that is about it as far as I'm aware. And on to combat, he does a pretty good number on the Tree Father with the combo charge. He inflicts 5 wounds on him. In return, I'm not able to do a lot, but it looks like my Thunder Stomp did take out about 3 or 4 of the Wasteland Warriors, so yeah, that's something. So that moves us on to Sylvanel's turn 3, and turn 3 sees me with the chance to show a bit of aggression and give James a bit of his own medicine. So on the left hand side there, the Kestrels charge into the flank of the Wasteland Warriors, the Spearmen charge into the flank of the Shrine as well, so looking pretty happy there. The Dryads get themselves ready to cop a charge there. They're almost certainly going to die, I would imagine. And the Tree Father also braces himself for a charge. We've got the Matriarch unit just in behind, hopefully far enough away that he can't charge them, as I'd rather keep them alive a bit longer, although at least they're going to be stubborn in the wood. Over on the right hand side, the Kestrels just prepare themselves to do a flank charge if he does come for me in the center, while my Briar Maiden unit push right up on that right hand side to get in shooting range of the Hellstriders. In Magic, we get another reasonably good Magic phase, rolling up 8-6, although we do fail to channel this time. So firstly we managed to get off Know Thy Enemy on the Spearman unit. Again, wanted that so that we'd have the higher initiative and be more likely to hit and less likely to be hit in return. Also the Guiding Light buff was what I was really after, as if I get stuck there and cop a charge in the rear, hopefully I will remain steadfast, and with a Cold-Blooded Leadership 9 we should hold, and then we can turn around and face them and hopefully form extra ranks and be pretty able to hold in that fight for quite some time. So hopefully that spell's going to really pay off. And I think that was about all we were able to get off again this turn. Yeah, really struggling to get off more than one spell. In shooting, the Briar Maidens and the Lord are only able to kill off 2 Hellstriders. Had hoped to do a little better than that. And then in combat, well, it gets brutal rather fast. So the Kestrels end up taking quite a bit of damage there. Looks like we took 5 wounds, which is pretty nasty. Don't take any more wounds though on the Tree Father. Only lose a handful of spears, and we pursue with the Spearmen and the Tree Father. I think we killed all the Wasteland Warriors but did not kill the Shrine, maybe? I'm trying to remember quite how that worked and why I've got that Kestrel remaining. But anyway, after combat, that's how we look on the left. So moving on to the Warriors of the Dark Gods, and the Barbarian Horsemen charge and kill my last remaining Kestrel on the left hand side there. The Monstrous Cav, I keep calling them, but it looks like these are actually the Wasteland Warriors with a character in there. They charge into the Dryads, so therefore it must have been the Chosen on the left hand side that I've been mistaking all this time. The Lord goes into the Tree Father in the center, and the Hellstriders come up and decide they're going to use their whips on my Briar Maidens. And then in the center further back, the Barbarians and the unit of infantry just turn around to face my Spearmen, and the unit of Knights just push forward by the Impassable, just keeping out of the way of my Briar Maidens and my Kestrels. So moving on to Magic, and James rolls up a 6-4 Magic phase. We are able to channel on a 3 though to make it 6-5, which is fairly competitive. Unfortunately though, he gets a swarm of insects off on the tree father and gets the last remaining wound off on him, which is rather unfortunate. In shooting, he's able to get the stupidity on my Briar Maiden unit, so hopefully we're able to pass that next turn. And then on to combat, and well, James was pretty excited about getting that Lord into my tree father, but there's one thing I've learnt with Chaos Warriors, is they might be awfully nasty, but all it takes is one tree whack and they go down. And well, unfortunately for James, that happened to him again. His very expensive character there got absolutely tree whacked to death and only did 3 wounds to me in return. A little bit lucky. I think there's roughly only about a 25% chance of me pulling that off, but that was a risk he was willing to take, and well, I guess I was as well. As really, I didn't see too many other ways I was actually going to kill this guy, so the gamble paid off. And I don't know if James will be quite so keen to repeat a Chaos Lord into a Tree Father after that nasty surprise. And in the combat next door, well, I was a little bit surprised that my Dryads actually hung around as well as they did. Yeah, we lost 6 Dryads and got hammered in combat really. I'm not even sure we killed anything. So we flee, but James fluffs his pursue roll and just staggers forward, only I think 2 inches or something. He barely moves forward at all. So at this stage we live to fight another day. So moving on to Sylvan Elves turn 4. So on the left hand side, the 2 remaining Dryads do indeed rally, and hopefully they'll get to make themselves useful. The Spearmen reform and face the oncoming hordes that James has facing them. Might have made a little bit of a mistake here and possibly should have formed deeper into more ranks. Over in the centre, my Tree Father, who is feeling awfully brave and confident now after killing himself a Chaos Lord, charges forward into the infantry there in the centre of the board. You need that to go well so that those knights don't come and hit me in the flank. Further across on the right hand side, the Briar Maidens charge the Hell Striders. I think from memory they flee. We catch them and pass our second leadership test of the round to reform to face the back of the Knights, but unfortunately they're not likely to be there come my next turn. And just below them we've got the Kestrels still hiding there behind the Impassable, waiting for those Knights to come around the corner a bit further so that we can hit them in the rear or the flank. So on to magic, we roll up a 5-4 magic phase, but again we channel. Gotta love that nice channel bonus that I'm rocking. We managed to cast Know Thy Enemy onto the Tree Father, who's fighting the infantry in the centre of the board there. Went for that mainly for the guiding light, but also it means my weapon skill is also better than his now, so therefore he's going to be having a harder time hitting me and I'll have an easier time hitting him. So while I'm confident that things are all in order for this round and that I'll win combat, I'm also thinking ahead as he's possibly going to be steadfast and hold, and then I'm likely to get hit by the knights in the flank as well. So the guiding light and the better weapon skill may well be very useful come his turn when he charges me in return. So combat goes even better than I thought. We managed to kill off 5 of the infantry. And they flee. They don't flee very far, and we fail to catch them. We do take another wound in return, but yeah, that's rather disappointing that I wasn't able to run them down. So moving on to Warriors of the Dark Gods turn 4. So turn 4, he brings his Barbarian Horseman in front of my Spearmen to chaff me up. Yeah, I didn't think this very well through. You'll see in my next turn. He gets his infantry block there ready to come and get my Spearmen. The infantry that fled from the Treeman rally, which blocks the barbarians in behind them. Although they are probably just comfortable sitting, hiding at the back there, and not losing their points at the moment. And the knights just maneuver around out of my tree father's line of sight. So moving on to magic, and James rolls up a 10-6 magic phase with neither of us managing to channel. We managed to stop most spells, but he does sneak through a magic missile on the spearman. Can't remember if it was Ring of Fire or Swarm of Insects, but either way it kills off 4 spearmen, and that's all he gets off for this turn. So that brings us on to Sylvanel's turn 5. So turn 5, I combo charge the Barbarian Horseman with my Spearman unit, and also the 2 remaining Dryads in the flank. We also charge the Tree Father into the remaining infantry. We charge the Dryad Matriarch bunker into the flank of the Knights. Hopeful there the Matriarchs will maybe sneak a wound through, and we'll win with a charge, a flank and a wound. The Barai Maidens just move forward. We'll do a little bit of shooting on the Barbarians, but mainly, more importantly, looking at what they can do in turn 6. And finally, we just get the Kestrels ready, possibly for a charge as well. I'm not quite sure why I didn't actually move them further to the left hand side, so they might actually be useful next turn. So moving on to magic, we roll up another good magic phase, a 9-6 phase, and we channel again. So firstly we go for a Master of Earth to heal a wound on our Tree Father, and that sneaks through. Might have killed 1 or 2 barbarians, didn't really do much with that one. Then we go for Stars Align on our Dryad unit. Probably didn't even need to do that, but we miscast it. So we get the Guiding Light, we get the Stars Align, but we lose 4 skirmishing Dryads in the process. Probably not a smart move there, unfortunately. So moving on to combat, and the Tree Father makes a right mess of the infantry this time and overruns into the Barbarian unit, so pretty happy with him and his work there. The Dryad Matriarch unit does manage to inflict 1 wound on the Knights, but the unit's looking a bit sick now after the miscast, and looks like I might have lost another 2 Dryads to him as well. He turns to face me, and things are looking a little bit grim there, unfortunately. Moving on to the Spearman unit, so the Spearman and the 2 Dryads in the flank make a good impression on the Barbarian Horseman. I have a feeling that the Horseman fled and the Dryads chased them down. I restrained with the Spearman. Yeah, and this is where I really didn't think things through. I really don't want to be 10 wide and going infantry unit on infantry unit next turn. But that's where we're sitting as we go into Warriors of the Dark Gods turn 5. So James, as expected, makes the charge with his Wasteland Warriors into my Spearman unit. He also reforms the Barbarians and backs them up just to try and make sure that they will survive any possible overrun from the Tree Father, and that's pretty much all he's got left on the board. So we're going on to Magic. So Magic, he rolls up a 4-2 Magic phase, and we both fail to channel, and I believe he was unable to get any spells off, and we go into combat. So the Matriarchs kill off 1 more of the Knights. In return we lose a Dryad as well as a wound on 1 of my Matriarchs, but with our cold-blooded leadership 9 we're able to hold and continue fighting that fight, which is fantastic, as now I have the opportunity for my Lord to hit him in the rear. The Tree Man is unfortunately unable to do as well as I would have hoped on the infantry unit there, but he is still carrying on that fight. They hold, but they are not able to reform to face me. The infantry, he makes a real mess on me, kills off 15 guys maybe. So while I kill quite a few, I kill one too few. One more and I would have been steadfast. Would have had my reroll leadership 9, and we almost certainly would have held, but unfortunately, well, we are not steadfast. We lose combat by quite a bit. We fail our leadership test and we run not far, maybe 7 or 8 inches, but James rolls 1 inch less than me, or maybe it was 2, something like that. Oh, thank goodness for that. That gives me a chance to rally, and if we can rally and reform, we may well yet get out of this alive. So, turn 6, Sylvan Elves. We do indeed rally with the Spearmen and we reform, so we're only 5 wide. Hopefully this time we will manage to take him on if he comes for me. My BSB is long overdue to actually perform and make some wounds, so we have scrying. We'll be in a wood, so re-rolling our 1s to wound. Hopefully we can do actually enough there to possibly even win that combat with the war banner and the BSB in there. So yeah, we'll see how we go there, but pretty happy now that we've made that rally. In other moves, my Lord goes into the back of the Knights. I was a bit unsure what to do here. I should have probably gone for him with my Kestrels, but they were too far away. I might have gone for the charge and failed. I'm really not sure why the turn before I didn't actually move them closer and get them in a spot there where they could support the Dryads. Wasn't particularly good planning ahead on my part. So moving on to Magic, we roll up a 8/5 Magic phase, and again we channel, so another useful phase for us. We get off a Druidism spell to heal our Tree Father, try and make sure he lives through that round of combat, and we also get a buff off again on our Dryad unit, try and make sure we kill those Knights off. We've got the Stars line is actually on the Lord to make sure he doesn't fluff his attack rolls, and the Guiding Light I believe is actually on the Matriarch unit, just in case for some reason something goes wrong and I end up having to do a panic test on them. So everything's in combat, so we skip shooting and go straight to the combat phase. The Lord comes into the back of the Knights and kills off a couple of them. Unfortunately, he is able to take the last wound off my Matriarch there, so while we win combat, unfortunately we lose the Matriarch, but I think we do kill that last Knight off eventually. The Tree Father this time does smash that infantry unit, and they break and they run. Unfortunately we don't catch them, and that brings us on to the last turn of the game, Warriors of the Dark Gods, turn 6. So his infantry unit charges into my Spearmen in the wood, and that's pretty much the only movement he's able to make. So going straight into combat with him making the charge. I think he took some dangerous terrain. My BSB's in there. I'm pretty sure we got the distracting off from the spear, and we end up actually doing significantly better this time in combat. He does hold though, unfortunately, and we don't pick up those last points, I believe. So that was rather unfortunate, as we were so very close there to picking up maximum points for that unit, as well as finishing off his last character, but never mind. Still lucky to get out of that alive, I think, with that Spearman unit. The Lord manages to kill off the last Knight as well, just to finish off the maximum points there as well, and the infantry unit that was running from the Tree Father failed to rally, and they also ran off the table. So all in all, a very good result for the Sylvan Elves. So in the end, I finish up with 4,194 points, which is by far the biggest score so far in the tournament. And James, who had been averaging close to 5,000 points a game, only managed to get 1,100 in return. So mission accomplished. The tournament organizer was pretty happy with me, as that definitely closed up the points at the top of the table. James has still got a very, very handy lead going into day 2, but at least now it is conceivable that somebody could catch him. Whereas, yeah, if he'd done better in this game, there was little point in the rest of us turning up, I suppose, day 2, as he had such a big lead. But anyway, that was how the game panned out. I think key moments in the game, his Lord failing to kill my tree man and then dying to his crush attack was a huge moment in the game. A bit of luck for me there. Statistically, that should have gone James's way, but the way I see it is, it's always a risk if you want to put a character in against a tree man, because they get that crush attack, and if it goes off, you're pretty much dead. So, that was a key moment. Another one when my spearman fled and he wasn't able to catch me. Again, a key moment. I don't know why I had them running 10 wide. They really didn't need to be. You'll probably see though in my next game I still haven't learnt my lesson, still learning how to play that unit better, but at least they contributed something in this game. Yeah, Kestrels weren't used as well in that game. As I mentioned earlier in the report, James kind of played a little bit of mental warfare with me, and I didn't quite play the way I would have liked to have, but then he ended up playing quite aggressively, and it worked out well in terms of getting opportunities to come in from the sides and the Lord charge in the rear on the knights, things like that. That's the kind of game that Sylvan Elves love. Once it breaks up like that, we're in our element, and usually things will go our way once a game gets to that point. So overall, I was extremely happy to get a win against James. To win by so much was also very satisfying, but to full credit to James, his demeanor didn't change once throughout the game. The game was intense and enjoyable from woe to go. I absolutely thoroughly enjoy playing James. He is, like I say, he's a brilliant sportsman. The way he plays, it's always a good, hard, well fought game, and whether he's winning, whether he's losing, he maintains the same demeanor. And really looking forward to playing him again, hopefully in a few more weeks at our New Zealand Masters tournament that's coming up. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the battle. Very pleased to get a good win. Hit like, hit subscribe, hit share, and yeah, please comment if you have any comments. I love to hear your thoughts. I often learn plenty from your guys' insights, and yeah, I'll look forward to bringing you the next one, which hopefully will get out in the next few days. But this weekend was our Masters tournament, so there may be a week or so before the next report is out. Okay guys, thanks for watching. Take care.